The Roman Empire. The name alone conjures up images of gladiators, marble statues, and togas flowing in the Mediterranean breeze. Sounds romantic, right? A golden age of civilization, law, and architecture. But if I dropped you, yes, modern, shower-loving, Uber-ordering you, into the heart of the Roman world for just one day, you wouldn't last until sunset. Let's say you wake up in Rome, 120 AD. Under Emperor Hadrian. No, you didn't wake up in a villa with mosaic floors. You woke up in a crowded insula, basically a tenement the height of a 5-story walk-up. Built of wood and mud brick, and about as stable as a Jenga tower during an earthquake. There's no glass on your window, no toilet in your apartment, and your roommate snores like a dying minotaur. Also, you're likely sharing this space with mice, lice, and a vague smell of wet goat. You stumble down the stairs, carefully. Because one misstep means death. Stair railings weren't a thing yet. You need water. There's no tap, no Brita. You grab a jar and walk down to the public fountain. One of many fed by Rome's famous aqueducts. Sounds majestic, until you realize those same fountains are used by hundreds of others, including the guy who just spit his tobacco-ish concoction into it. And the kid who decided it's the perfect place to bathe his cat. Sanitation? That's a medieval dream, literally. The average Roman bathes once a week. If they're lucky. You're overdue already. But maybe you're rich. Let's assume you're an equi, a knight. Upper middle class. You wear a tunic bleached with urine, not a joke. That's how Romans whitened their clothes. And your sandals are made of cowhide, stylish. But they've never met a sock. You step out into the Roman street and immediately regret it. There's no traffic law. Carts, slaves, donkeys, and rich brats in litters jam the road. Human waste is hurled from upper stories. Romans didn't flush. They flung. A good day is one where you don't get hit in the face by someone else's dinner from last night. And you're hungry. What's for breakfast? If you're poor, maybe a piece of bread and some olives, possibly dipped in vinegar. No coffee, no tea, no cereal. If you're rich, maybe some cheese, dates, or fish paste. Fancy. Just don't ask what's in the fish paste. But here's the kicker. You've already broken about 36 Roman social rules. You looked a patrician in the eye too long. You didn't cover your head in the forum. You asked someone's job instead of their lineage. Worse, you questioned the gods out loud. Speaking of gods, the average Roman day was soaked in ritual. You want to start a business? Better make a sacrifice to Mercury. You want to propose? Venus needs a gift. You're about to go on a trip? Sacrifice a chicken and watch how its guts fall. Divination was the Roman version of Google Maps. You think that's absurd? Try telling them astrology is a scam. You'd be laughed out of town, or accused of treason. And heaven help you if you're a woman. Your day begins before dawn, ends after dark, and includes managing a household full of slaves, obeying a husband who may be 40 years older than you, and praying to the goddess Juno that your firstborn survives infancy. Oh, and forget voting, owning property freely, or being taken seriously in court. If you're a slave, your day starts with whatever your owner demands. Clean the latrines, carry 30-kilo amphorae full of oil, get beaten for looking tired. Maybe you were captured in Germania, or Britain, or Judea. You don't speak Latin, you're terrified, but you're still expected to navigate this brutally complex social hierarchy as if your life depends on it. Because it does. And it's not just the brutality, it's the boredom. Most of Roman life was repetitive, grueling, and predictable. Grain shipment arrives, bakers bake, poor eat, rich throw dinner parties, politicians lie. Nothing new under the sun, except for the occasional gladiator fight. Public execution, or freak weather event. Fun, but let's pretend you've made it to the evening. You return home, or wherever you sleep. Maybe you go to the public baths if you're lucky. Maybe you sit in the forum and hear a philosopher mumble something about virtue. Maybe you light an oil lamp. Scratch some graffiti on the wall. Romans loved graffiti. There's even one from Pompeii that says, "I screwed the barmaid," and fall asleep on straw that smells like last week's wine. Now imagine repeating that life. Not for a day, not for a week, but for decades. Still think Roman life was glorious? This isn't to say they didn't have triumphs, roads, law, architecture, aqueducts, art, but we sanitize the past until it sparkles. The Roman Empire wasn't HBO Rome. It was more like a survival game, minus the save button. And don't even get me started on medicine. Roman doctors believed in balancing your humors, blood, phlegm, black bile, and yellow bile. Got a headache? Drill a hole in the skull to release the pressure. Got a stomachache? Drink warm vinegar with crushed spider. If you lived past 40, you were a legend. So next time someone says, I wish I could live in ancient Rome, ask them this: do you want to live in the past, or in the Hollywood version of it? Because the real Roman Empire? It wasn't built in a day. But it could absolutely break you in one. Coming up next. What happens when a teenage emperor becomes a god, and turns the empire into his personal stage show? Spoiler. It involves blood, incest, and a horse in the Senate. He was just 17 when the Roman Empire bowed to him. A teenager with absolute power, infinite wealth, and no one to say no. His name was Gaius Julius Caesar Augustus Germanicus, but history remembers him by his childhood nickname, Caligula. Little Boots. And Little Boots kicked down the door of sanity. When he first became emperor in 37 AD, Rome breathed a sigh of relief. After years of Tiberius's paranoia, cruelty, and secret executions, Caligula seemed like the golden boy. Handsome, charming, generous. He threw lavish games, forgave debts, and released prisoners. The people cheered, but the applause didn't last long. According to ancient sources, something snapped. Maybe it was the pressure. Maybe it was the rumors that Tiberius sexually abused him. Maybe it was a serious illness he barely survived early in his reign. Or maybe, just maybe, he realized one horrifying truth: when you're a god, the rules don't apply. And Caligula decided he was a god. He didn't just demand statues and temples. He ordered temples to himself. He paraded dressed as Jupiter, Mercury, Venus, even as the goddess Diana. He talked to the moon. He whispered to statues and yelled at thunder. One day, he told the senators, "You worship gods you cannot see. Now worship one who walks among you." His madness wasn't harmless. Caligula would invite nobles to dinner, then have their throats slit for dessert. He once burst out laughing in the Senate. When asked why, he said he was amused by the thought that he could, at any moment, have all their heads cut off, and no one could stop him. That wasn't a joke. That was a promise. And the stories get darker. He supposedly forced fathers to watch their sons tortured. He made married women parade naked at parties, then auctioned them off like cattle, sometimes to his own guards. He declared war on the sea, marching his army to the English Channel, demanding they stab the water and collect seashells as trophies. Official explanation? Victory against Neptune. This isn't just eccentric. This is theater soaked in blood. But perhaps his most infamous act? Making his horse, Incitatus, a consul. Not metaphorically. He gave the horse a marble stable, golden feed buckets, and a palace with servants. Historians say Caligula planned to officially appoint him to Rome's highest office. Just to mock the Senate. Or maybe to show that even a horse would do a better job. Now here's the question. Was Caligula truly mad? Or was he performing madness as a form of control? Some modern scholars argue that the ancient historians, most of them aristocrats, hated him and exaggerated his crimes. That maybe he was more eccentric than evil. That he clashed with the Senate, and they spun him into a monster. But even if only half the stories are true, it's enough. Rome under Caligula wasn't just a dictatorship, it was a circus with a psychopath as the ringmaster. And the people knew it. The whispers began. The Praetorian Guard, the emperor's own bodyguards, grew restless. One day, in 41 AD, they caught him in a hallway. They stabbed him, again, and again, and again. No trial, no ceremony, just blood. The Senate tried to restore the Republic. But the military had other ideas. The throne passed to Claudius, Caligula's uncle, who had spent most of his life pretending to be a harmless fool to avoid execution. But that's another story. What Caligula proved, what Rome never forgot, is that power without checks doesn't just corrupt. It unleashes. And when you mix divinity with delusion, the result isn't a god. It's a monster. Coming up next. A forgotten war in the Roman East where a kingdom of desert nomads humiliated an entire legion, then vanished. We're talking decapitated standards, melting armor, and a betrayal that Rome never dared to avenge. Imagine commanding the largest army in Rome, Imagine being richer than any Roman alive, richer, even, than the emperor himself. Now imagine thinking you could conquer the East like Alexander the Great, and instead watching 20,000 of your men die screaming in the desert while your severed head gets used in a play. That's not fiction. That's history. That's Crassus. And that's Carrhae. The year was 53 BC. Rome was ruled by the so-called First Triumvirate, Pompey the general, Julius Caesar the rising star, and Marcus Licinius Crassus, the money. Crassus wasn't famous for his charisma or for military brilliance. He was famous for owning half of Rome. His real estate empire was so vast that people joked he made fires happen just to buy property cheap. Not a hero, not a philosopher, but Crassus wanted glory. So he looked east, to Parthia. Now, Parthia wasn't just another dusty backwater. It was a war machine. Persian in blood, Greek in influence, and mounted like no army Rome had ever seen. They rode fast. They shot arrows from horseback with terrifying accuracy. And they didn't fight by Roman rules. Crassus ignored all warnings. The Senate didn't approve. The omens were bad. His allies begged him to reconsider. He didn't care. He marched 40,000 Roman soldiers into the Syrian desert. And the Parthians were waiting. At Carrhae, modern-day Turkey, Crassus met a ghost army. Only 10,000 horse archers. No foot soldiers. No siege weapons. It looked like a joke. Crassus smirked. Then the sky darkened. The Parthians had a secret weapon: silence. They faked retreat, then circled, then fired. Thousands of arrows, black, thin, fast, rained down like locusts. The Romans had no cover. Their famous testudo, shield formation, meant nothing against arrows shot from above and behind. Every time they charged, the Parthians vanished. Every time they retreated, the Parthians closed in. And then came the cataphracts. Heavily armored cavalry, men and horses like tanks, crashed into Roman flanks. Spears broke bones. Arrows punched through armor. There was no honor here. Just heat, fear, and sand turning red. Crassus panicked. His officers begged to retreat. His son, Publius, led a counterattack with 8,000 men. Parthian bait. They surrounded him, butchered his men, cut off his head, and sent it back as a message. Crassus broke. He tried to negotiate, parley with the Parthian commander, Serena, but the meeting was a trap. The Parthians grabbed Crassus and his officers. Swords flashed. The Roman general, the richest man in Rome, was decapitated in the dirt. But the humiliation wasn't over. The Parthians poured molten gold down Crassus's throat, to mock his greed. Then, they used his severed head as a prop in a stage play in their capital. Actors reenacted his death. The audience laughed. Rome did not. 20,000 Roman soldiers were dead. Another 10,000 were taken prisoner, marched east across Iran, into Bactria, maybe even to China. Some scholars think their descendants fought as mercenaries in distant wars. They vanished from Roman memory. And the golden eagle standards, symbols of Roman legions? Stolen, displayed in Parthian temples like trophies. This wasn't just a military disaster. This was a cosmic insult. Rome could forgive a defeat, but it could not forgive humiliation. Julius Caesar planned revenge, but was assassinated. Augustus eventually negotiated the return of the standards. Decades later, but the scars of Carrhae never healed. Because Carrhae wasn't just about death. It was about pride, arrogance, empire walking blind into the desert, thinking it was invincible. And for a brief moment, the East laughed back. Coming up next, the city that vanished without a trace, and may have been wiped out by a climate event more devastating than any war. No enemy army, no plague, just disappearance. No war, no invasion, no plague, just silence. That's how it ended for one of the most advanced cities in the ancient world. Not with fire, not with blood, but with wind, dust, and a silence that lasted 3,000 years. The city was Ugarit, located in what is now modern-day Syria. Ugarit was a coastal hub of trade, language, and luxury. Its people wrote the first known alphabet. Its markets buzzed with goods from Egypt, Cyprus, Mesopotamia. Its elite dined on bronze plates, recorded business deals on tablets, and built homes of stone 2 stories high. They had schools, libraries, diplomats. And then, it vanished. One day in the late Bronze Age, around 1200 BCE, Ugarit simply stopped. Its streets emptied. Its palaces collapsed. Its scribes left messages unfinished on their clay tablets, one of which read, "The enemy is approaching." But no one ever came to finish the sentence. The kiln was still warm. The city froze in time. Historians once blamed invaders, the mysterious sea peoples, a coalition of warriors who appeared from the Aegean and ravaged the eastern Mediterranean. Egypt barely survived their attacks. Hittites fell. Mycenaean Greece crumbled. But Ugarit's fall wasn't just about swords. Because Ugarit wasn't alone. Between 1200 and 1150 BCE, over 40 major cities across the Near East and eastern Mediterranean collapsed. Entire civilizations, Hittites, Mycenaeans, Canaanites, Cypriots, disintegrated. Trade networks died. Writing systems disappeared. The ancient world entered a 300-year dark age. What could do that? Not just war. Not just rebellion. Climate. Recent studies of pollen, tree rains, and cave stalagmites point to one terrifying culprit. A megadrot. A massive, prolonged drying of the land, possibly triggered by volcanic activity or shifts in ocean temperatures, crippled agriculture across the region. Crops failed, water sources dried up, famine hit, and when food becomes scarce, kingdoms fall. Internal revolts broke out. Migrants fled dying cities. Armies moved, desperate, violent, directionless. The sea peoples may not have been invaders in the traditional sense, but refugees. Driven by climate collapse, searching for survival. So yes, Ugarit burned. But it wasn't just enemies at the gate. It was the sky. In the ashes of the palace, archaeologists found hundreds of cuneiform tablets. Contracts, myths, letters. One letter, never sent, was a desperate plea to a neighboring king. My father. The enemy ships are here. My city is consumed with fire. They have done evil things. My gods do not answer. But the letter was buried. No reply ever came. Ugarit died not from a single catastrophe, but from the unraveling of a system. Its fall wasn't unique. It was the beginning of an era where everything ancient stopped working. Ironically, we know more about Ugarit now than anyone did for centuries. Buried under rubble, it lay forgotten until French archaeologists uncovered it in the 1920s. What they found were not just ruins, but a warning that when the environment shifts, even the most sophisticated societies can vanish in a matter of years. And that civilization, no matter how advanced, sits on a very thin crust of stability. So next time someone says climate change is not a big deal, tell them about Ugarit. Coming up next, what if one of the most famous Spartans, yes, those Spartans, was actually a traitor? And what if his betrayal is the reason we even know about the 300? You know the story. 300 Spartan warriors, led by King Leonidas, stood against the might of Persia. Outnumbered 100 to 1, they fought to the last breath in the narrow pass of Thermopylae. Steel clashed, blood spilled, honor prevailed, and then, they died. But here's what your history teacher didn't say. The Spartans didn't lose because they were overwhelmed. They lost because someone sold them out. And he might have been one of them. His name was Ephialtes. History remembers him as a traitor. The one who told Xerxes, the Persian king, about a secret goat path behind the pass. The one who guided Persian forces through the mountains while the Spartans slept. The one who made Thermopylae a death trap. But here's the twist. Ephialtes might not have been some random outcast or foreigner. Some ancient sources suggest he was Spartan-born. Not a hoplite, not a full citizen, but perhaps a rejected youth, deformed, disgraced, or denied the warrior's life because he didn't meet the brutal standards of Spartan training. He wanted glory. He wanted to fight beside the 300. Leonidas said no. So Ephialtes turned. He didn't do it for Persia. He did it for revenge and recognition. But ask yourself, why do we even remember Thermopylae? It wasn't a strategic victory. The Persians still marched south, burned Athens, and ransacked Greece. Militarily, the stand at Thermopylae was a footnote. But politically, emotionally, mythically, it was everything. The Spartans chose to die. Leonidas knew the path behind them existed. He let his allies go. He stayed with his 300. Not because he thought he could win, but because he wanted the story to live. And what makes a great story? A villain. Ephialtes gave Thermopylae a twist, a betrayal that turned brave men into martyrs. Without him, maybe the tale fades into just another battle. With him, it becomes a tragedy, a warning, a legend. And here's the uncomfortable part. Sparta, the society built on loyalty, honor, obedience, might have created the traitor it hated most. By exiling its weak, discarding the flawed, it gave bitterness a name. And that name guided an empire through the back door. Now zoom out. How many heroes are made by their enemies? How many myths survive not because they were perfect, but because they were punished? Ephialtes was promised a reward by the Persians. But when they lost the war, he was hunted down, executed without ceremony. His name became synonymous with betrayal. In modern Greek, Ephialtes literally means nightmare. And maybe that's justice. Or maybe it's exactly what Leonidas would have wanted. A scapegoat, a villain, a twist sharp enough to pierce time. Coming up next, a Roman emperor who made becoming a gladiator his full-time job. He fought in the arena. He rigged the matches. He even cheated death. Until the day the crowd stopped clapping. It sounds like something ripped straight from a bad Netflix script. The emperor of the most powerful empire on earth, fighting as a gladiator. In public, for fun, and winning every single time. Except, this isn't fiction. It happened. His name was Commodus. Yes, that Commodus, from the movie Gladiator. But the truth is even more bizarre than the film. Commodus became emperor in 180 AD after the death of his father. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king, who wrote Meditations. Stoic, wise, respected. His son? None of that. Commodus wasn't interested in governing. He wanted blood, fame, and applause. So he did what no emperor before him dared. He stepped into the Colosseum, not as a spectator, but as a gladiator. And not once, not as a stunt, but regularly. He dressed in exotic armor, carried specially made weapons, and strutted into the arena to kill animals, criminals, and sometimes actual gladiators, though they were ordered not to fight back. Every match was rigged, every victory choreographed. His opponents were maimed, starved, or deliberately weakened. Some were even armed with wooden swords. Commodus always won, because no one was allowed to beat a god. Yes, he declared himself a god, rebranded Rome as Colonia Commodiana, and demanded to be addressed as the reincarnation of Hercules, complete with lion skin and club. At first, the people cheered. It was spectacle. It was madness. It was impossible to look away. But the novelty wore off. Because Commodus wasn't a hero. He was a narcissist in armor. He charged the Roman treasury for every appearance in the arena, millions of sesterces. He renamed the calendar months after his own names. He executed senators who laughed at his performance. He even forced amputees to be tied together and beaten to death in the arena, just to make himself look stronger. He turned governance into theater, and theater into tyranny. And then, someone clapped too slowly. It started with his concubine, Marcia. She found her name on a hit list. Commodus was planning executions. She poisoned his wine. It didn't work, so his wrestling trainer strangled him in the bath. The gladiator king died not in battle, but naked, drunk, and betrayed by the people closest to him. The Senate damnatio memoriae him, erased his name, tore down his statues, but they couldn't erase the image of a Roman emperor dressed like Hercules, swinging a sword in the Colosseum, killing for applause. Here's the deeper question. Did Commodus destroy Rome, or did he just expose it? Was his obsession with performance a personal madness? Or was it the natural end point of an empire addicted to spectacle? An emperor becomes an actor. A god becomes a clown. And the greatest empire in history becomes an audience. Coming up next, a medieval queen who killed so many lovers that her castle was rumored to bleed from its walls. Poison, seduction, and one deadly chess move that changed European history. In the heart of Central Europe, there stands a castle with walls stained red. Locals say it bleeds at night. That if you listen closely, you can hear whispers, pleading, moaning, choking. They say it's cursed. They say it's because of her. Elizabeth Báthory, the Blood Countess. But forget what you think you know. Forget the vampire myths. The stories of her bathing in virgin blood, those came later. Twisted by gossip and fear. The truth? More chilling. Born in 1560 into one of the most powerful noble families in Hungary, Elizabeth was no mere aristocrat. She spoke 4 languages, owned vast estates, married into even more power. And she played the game of court politics like a grandmaster. She also had a secret. Young men and women entered her service. They didn't come back. At first, it was dismissed. Peasants vanish all the time. Runaways, thieves, disease. But then it escalated. Daughters of nobility went missing. Servants arrived and were never seen again. And rumors began to swirl. Torture chambers, iron spikes, poisoned wine, a hidden room beneath the castle floorboards, where screams were muffled by layers of stone. And Elizabeth? Always calm, always composed, always untouchable. Until one day in 1610, her luck ran out. A group of nobles raided her castle, supposedly, on behalf of the king. What they found became legend: mutilated bodies, barely living girls, instruments of pain. Elizabeth was arrested. But here's the twist: she was never put on trial. She was too powerful, too connected. A public trial would expose secrets the crown didn't want aired: alliances, betrayals, debts unpaid. So instead, they locked her in her own castle, walled her into a room with no door, only a small hole for food. She died 4 years later, alone, in silence. But here's the deeper question no one asks. What if she was framed? Some historians now argue the Blood Countess story was a smear campaign, engineered by powerful men who owed her money, envied her land, and feared her independence. Remember, this was a time when a woman owning that much land was a threat. The king owed her family a fortune. Seizing her assets after a scandal was politically convenient. And the witnesses? All extracted under torture. So what was she really? A monster? A victim? Or the perfect mix of both? Whatever the truth, her story worked. Her castle became legend. Her name became synonymous with horror. And today, when the walls bleed, maybe it's not because of ghosts. Maybe it's just history leaking through the cracks. Coming up next, an African emperor so rich, his spending spree on a single road trip * crashed an entire economy * and reshaped global trade forever. Imagine Jeff Bezos takes a vacation. But instead of just posting beach pics, he casually drops billions of dollars in every town he passes, just because he can. Now imagine the dollar collapses because of it. That's not fiction. That's what happened. But 700 years ago. And the man wasn't a CEO. He was an emperor. His name was Mansa Musa *, and he may have been the richest human in history. Emperor of the Mali Empire. West Africa. Ruler of gold mines so vast, so unregulated, that he didn't just control the price of gold. He was the price of gold. But here's the twist most people miss. Mansa Musa wasn't trying to show off. He was going on a pilgrimage the Hajj to Mecca. A religious journey. In 1324, he left Mali with an entourage so massive it broke geography. 60,000 people. 12,000 slaves, each carrying 2 kilograms of gold. 100 camels, each with 135 kilograms of gold. Horses, dancers, guards, cooks, scholars. They passed through the Sahara, crossed Egypt, and gold followed like a glittering flood. In Cairo, he gave so much gold to the poor, to merchants, to mosques, that the price of gold * plummeted 25%. The Egyptian economy? Crashed. Inflation skyrocketed. Markets collapsed. It took * over a decade * to recover. Let that sink in. He was so generous. He broke capitalism. But here's where it gets deeper. Mansa Musa didn't stop at giving. He built universities, mosques, libraries, trade routes. He made Timbuktu a center of learning, attracting scholars from across the Islamic world. He put West Africa on * maps *, literally. European cartographers began drawing Mali on their charts, marking it with a man on a golden throne. And yet, ask the average person today who he was. They've never heard of him. Why? Because history forgets Africa when it doesn't fit the narrative. We're taught about the Roman Empire, the British Empire, Genghis Khan, but Mansa Musa? Silence. Even though he reshaped trade across continents, made Timbuktu a global city, and proved that black power, wealth, and culture weren't just footnotes, they were empires. So here's the uncomfortable truth. A black emperor, devout and brilliant, richer than any king before or since, transformed the world, then was written out of it. Not because he failed, but because he succeeded too much. Coming up next, a secret war inside World War II, fought not with guns, but with fake cities, inflatable tanks, and a Hollywood-style illusion so brilliant, it tricked Hitler himself. What if I told you that part of World War II was won by actors? That there was a unit of soldiers whose mission wasn't to fight, but to pretend. They carried no real weapons. Instead, they used rubber tanks, sound effects, and fashion design to defeat the Nazis. This is the true story of the Ghost Army the most surreal, classified, and bizarre military unit you've never heard of. Formed in 1944. Officially called the 23rd Headquarters Special Troops. This 1.100-man unit had one mission: deception. They were illusionists, literally. They recruited artists from New York, set designers from Hollywood, sound engineers, painters, costume makers, people who could fake anything. Their job? Make the Germans believe entire divisions of Allied troops were where they weren't. How? Step 1. Visualize. They inflated massive rubber tanks, built fake airplanes from canvas and plywood, painted false unit insignias on trucks. From a spy plane, it looked like a full armored division. Step 2. Sound warfare. Using enormous speakers mounted on jeeps, they blasted pre-recorded sounds of troops, tanks, and machinery. The sound could be heard *** 15 miles away. Germans listening with radios thought an army was moving in. Step 3. Radio hoaxes. They mimicked radio traffic from real divisions, sent out fake Morse code, tricked Nazi intelligence into thinking Patton's army was somewhere else entirely. Step 4. Acting. Yes, literally. Soldiers wore different uniforms, walked through towns pretending to be generals or infantrymen, drank at local bars and leaked fake secrets on purpose. And it worked. They misled the Germans during the build-up to D-Day. They diverted enemy troops away from real invasions. They saved tens of thousands of lives, without ever firing a shot, But here's the haunting part. After the war, it was erased. The Ghost Army remained classified for over 40 years. Its members couldn't talk. Their achievements, hidden. Why? Because governments feared revealing how powerful deception could be. If a few artists and tricksters could alter the course of war, what else could illusion do? Here's the final twist. Among the Ghost Army was a young artist named Ellsworth Kelly, who would become a world-famous painter. Another was fashion designer Bill Blass. They left the battlefield and changed the world in different ways. But for one brief moment in history, art didn't imitate war. Art was war, Coming up next, the war that killed more people than World War I. Toppled entire dynasties, involved zombie soldiers, and most of the world has never heard of it. In the mid-1800s, while Europe obsessed over Napoleon and America teetered toward civil war, a different kind of apocalypse was brewing in China. And it would kill more people than the American Civil War, Napoleonic Wars, and the Crusades, combined. 25 to 30 million dead. A war of angels, demons, and rifles. It all began with a failed exam. In 1837, a man named Hong Xiuquan failed the Imperial Civil Service exam, for the third time. Humiliated and ill, he had visions, fever dreams. He claimed he saw a golden-haired man in the sky who told him to cleanse China of demons. That man, according to Hong, was God. And Hong? He said he was the younger brother of Jesus Christ. Yes, you read that right. A Chinese man, in Qing Dynasty China, declared himself the second son of God, and began preaching a strange hybrid of Christianity, Confucianism, and apocalyptic rebellion. Thousands followed, then tens of thousands, then millions. By 1851, Hong's followers founded the Taiping Heavenly Kingdom, claiming a huge chunk of southern China as a new divine state, with Nanjing as its Jerusalem. They banned opium, abolished foot binding, redistributed land, appointed both men and women as military commanders, revolutionary for its time. But there was a dark side. Dissenters were purged, cities razed, those who opposed the Taiping were massacred. The Qing government responded in kind, with brutal crackdowns, foreign aid, and scorched earth campaigns. Entire provinces became war zones. Villagers slaughtered in the crossfire. Some reports said Taiping soldiers, driven by religious ecstasy, would fight even after being shot, leading terrified Qing generals to describe them as unholy spirits or undead zealots. Western powers watched in awe and horror. Missionaries were torn. Should they support a man claiming to be Jesus's brother, or condemn him as heretic? Meanwhile, the Qing dynasty, already crumbling, called in help from the West, and created a modernized militia called the Ever Victorious Army. Led by foreign officers like British mercenary Charles Gordon later known as Chinese Gordon. After 14 years, in 1864, the Qing forces stormed Nanjing. The Taiping Heavenly Kingdom collapsed. Hong Xiuquan? He died mysteriously, some say by poison. Others say starvation. His body was found rotting in the palace. His followers were executed. The city bathed in blood. But the scars never faded. The Taiping Rebellion nearly toppled one of the world's oldest empires. It paved the way for future uprisings, Boxer Rebellion, the fall of the Qing, Communist Revolution. And yet, barely anyone outside China knows it happened. It's not in textbooks. It's not in Hollywood. It's too strange, too messy, too inconvenient. But here's the haunting truth. It's one of the deadliest wars in human history. And it started because one man failed an exam. Coming up next, a dictator who banned the word Tuesday, had body doubles trained to take bullets, and possibly had a secret hotline to Michael Jackson. He ruled a country with an iron fist. He survived assassination attempts, 2 wars, and even George W. Bush. But Saddam Hussein wasn't just a dictator. He was weird. Like, insanely weird. Let's start simple. He had over **** 20 palaces, each more extravagant than the last. Some were exact replicas of ancient Babylonian temples. Others had golden toilets. One even had a private zoo, with lions. But then things get darker and weirder. He had multiple body doubles not just for protection, but for public events. Some were so well trained. They learned to imitate his limp, his voice, even his handwriting. According to some sources, one of the doubles was ordered to undergo plastic surgery to match Saddam's aging face. That double later vanished. Why so paranoid? Because Saddam believed he was chosen by destiny. He wrote romance novels yes, actual books, under a pen name. One of them, Zabiba and the King, is an allegory where the noble king, totally not Saddam, falls in love with a woman, totally Iraq, and battles an evil rapist tyrant, clearly the U.S. It sold millions. Mandatory reading in Iraqi schools. Then there's Tuesday. Saddam reportedly considered Tuesdays cursed. Several coup attempts happened on Tuesdays. So what did he do? He banned major decisions and meetings on that day. Imagine a whole government just pausing every Tuesday. But we're not done. He commissioned a Quran written in his own blood. Literally. Over the course of 2 years. He donated pints of blood to be mixed into ink. The result was a 600-page book now locked away because Islamic scholars can't decide whether to preserve it or destroy it as blasphemy. Oh, and that Michael Jackson thing? In 2003, during the invasion of Iraq, a fake news story began circulating that Saddam had secretly spoken to Michael Jackson, asking him to write a peace song. Totally false. But it spread so far that U.S. intelligence reportedly had to investigate just to be sure. Why do these stories matter? Because they're not just eccentric footnotes. They reveal how dictators weaponize myth, ritual, and absurdity to stay in power. Saddam wasn't just feared, he was unknowable, unpredictable, which made him even more terrifying. The West painted him as a brute. But inside Iraq, he painted himself as a warrior poet prophet king. And for a time, it worked. Coming up next, the final chapter. What if I told you that the dumbest war in history was started by a pastry chef? Involved a missing bucket, and featured a nation declaring war on birds? Let's end this journey with a bang. Not a glorious battle, not a noble cause, but some of the dumbest, most pointless conflicts in human history. Yes, these actually happened. Let's start with a bucket. The War of the Bucket. Italy, 1325. Two city-states, Modena and Bologna were longtime rivals. But one day, Modena raided Bologna and stole a wooden bucket from a city well. Bologna demanded it back. Modena refused. So Bologna declared war. An actual war. Over a bucket. The two sides clashed at the Battle of Zoppolino. Around *2.000 men died. Modena won. And the bucket? It's still in Modena today. Displayed proudly in a tower like some divine relic. Then there's the pastry war. 1838. France versus Mexico. It began when a French pastry chef living in Mexico claimed Mexican officers destroyed his bakery during a riot. He demanded compensation. The Mexican government ignored him. So he went to France and complained to King Louis Philippe. And France sent warships. They bombarded the Mexican coast, occupied Veracruz, and demanded 600.000 pesos for the croissants. Mexico resisted. Fighting broke out. Dozens died. A future Mexican president lost his leg. All because of a pastry. Now, you may think, surely we've hit peak stupidity. Nope. Let me introduce you to the Great Emu War. Australia, 1932. After World War I, veterans in Western Australia were given farmland. But soon they faced an enemy no one expected: emus. Giant, fast, flightless birds. Tens of thousands of them. They trampled crops, knocked down fences, and outnumbered farmers. The government solution? Send the military, armed with machine guns, to shoot birds. But emus are fast, smart, and weirdly bulletproof. The soldiers couldn't keep up. The birds scattered, regrouped, and outran trucks. One military report said, if we had a military division with the bullet-carrying capacity of these birds, it would face any army in the world. After 20.000 rounds of ammunition, less than 1.000 emus were killed. The rest vanished into the bush. Australia admitted defeat. Yes, the emus won. And here's the kicker. They never surrendered. The war was never officially declared over. Technically, the emu empire still reigns. So what does all this tell us? That history isn't just kings and empires and ideologies. It's also human pettiness, pride, comedy, stupidity. It's wars over pastries, birds, buckets. It's dictators writing romance novels, ghost armies with rubber tanks, and a man who failed an exam and nearly destroyed a dynasty. History isn't boring. It's bizarre. And the more you dig, the more you realize, we're all just one bad Tuesday away from starting a war over a donut.